Friends and enemies, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Welcome back, Canadian Bitcoiners podcast, where we have yet to be replaced by H-1B visa holders. My name is Joey. That's Len. What's going on, buddy? Did you have a good Christmas? Family's good. Everyone's happy. Santa was good to you.
Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with my camera, though.
Oh, no. They're just going to be
Whatever,
frozen like that the entire show.
Yeah, I'm going to stay like this. It is what it is. Who the fuck cares, Joey? Who the fuck cares? It is what it is. But yeah, everything is good. Everything okay over there?
It's great, man. Little one is good. Had a great Christmas over here. Her first one, which has been a lot of fun. A lot of interesting gifts. I don't know about you. You have a little girl too, obviously, but you know, people can hit me in the comments here if they have a similar experience. Everyone wants to get my daughter something pink. And my wife and I are just like flabbergasted that this pink flood of clothes keeps coming to the house. So I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing or did experience that, but you can let me know. I don't even know if you're still there. Are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh.
I don't know what's wrong. There's something wrong with my camera. What? Well, you know what? It's okay. It's probably for the best, given the fact I got that reddish tint because I'm wearing this shirt. This is not the first. This happened before too. It's very strange. Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's all right. Let's hit the sponsors here. And
See, I'm back.
There you go.
I'm back. What the heck happened? I don't know.
Let's do sponsors and we'll get into the usual stuff here. I don't know how long we'll go tonight since it is a sort of in between the holiday, but there is some stuff to talk about. So EasyDNS, lead sponsor, banner sponsor, Mark and the team, our friends, our colleagues, our conciliaries, and our partners here on CBP. If you want to do some registrar related stuff, he's the Friendly Neighborhood registrar, friendly neighborhood domain guy. Head over there, bring your own website that you've already bought or I should say buy a website through EasyDNS. Cheap, easy, not to mention extremely secure. If you listen to Access of Easy, the other podcast Len and I do on behalf of Mark and the team over there, you will know that there are, I was going to say hundreds, probably more stories every month, every year of spoofing and email usurping of different natures and convincing people that they're getting emails from official sources and websites, grabbing info, grabbing data, not to mention, hacking and whatnot that goes on in normal times as well. Mark's got something for that. He's got DomainSure. We talk about it every week over there. You guys would be the beneficiaries of that service if you use EasyDNS, not to mention that he's got all the stuff you need if you're a Bitcoin enthusiast. You want to do a Nostr Relay, Bitcoin node, BTC Pay server implementation. He's got all the virtual private server stuff you need to do that as well. And of course, you get half off your entire cart, if you use CBP Media, our promo code, or just tell Mark we sent you. And, we appreciate his partnership, his support, and your support as well. Don't forget to use the code and start your website today. What are you waiting for? It's a new year. Yeah, that's part of your New Year's resolution. Maybe you can start a website and finally start your little side hustle the same way we did once upon a time.
I like Bull Bitcoin because that's sponsor number 2 for this show. I'm going to say the price of Bitcoin was high, was low, whatever the heck you think it is. It's maybe the right time to buy, the right time to sell. Bull Bitcoin has you covered if you want to sell on chain with Lightning, whatever the heck you want to do. Now I'm checking the fees. The last block that was built just 2 minutes ago, the average was 1 sat per VByte, 1 sat. So I would say doing on-chain buys and sells is still probably the right thing to do. My humble opinion, do your own research, and that's not financial advice. So with being said, Bull Bitcoin could buy and sell your Bitcoin. And there's also things you could do with that Bitcoin. If you do have it, you can start paying your bills, right? Like, who doesn't have bills, especially after this holiday season? That Visa bill must have been racked up quite large. So the fuck are you going to do with it? Don't just let it sit there and have them go to collections and take all your shit. No, pay back. Use Bull Bitcoin's bill service. Look, the price of Bitcoin, I don't know, it's somewhere in the 90s, where the fuck it is. So you can use that to start paying your bills, right? That's pretty damn fucking cool. But you can also use your Bitcoin and buy gift cards, right? Like right now, it's very difficult to start spending your Bitcoin in the real world, especially here in Canada. A lot of merchants don't take it, but they'll take your gift cards. So, well, Bitcoin will be happy to sell you gift cards. Take your Bitcoin, give it to you so you could get the Home Depot gift card, an Amazon gift card, whatever the fuck you have to do. And you can start spending your Bitcoin indirectly in the real world. Check it out, bullbitcoin.com. Open an account if you haven't done so. If you do, use our promo code below, $21, add it to your account once you provide necessary information and fund it, of course.
You love to see it. Decentral Tech is the third sponsor. Len, every single Canadian Bitcoiners podcast miner was purchased
Yeah,
incredible support from the listeners and viewers. Incredible. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. If you have some mining interest, listener viewer, whether it's something as little as a Bidax, something as big as an S19, S21, you want to do some garage mining, you want to do some basement mining, you want to heat your house, you want to initiate a divorce with your wife vis-a-vis the roaring hum of a professional grade miner, or you just want to buy some stuff that makes it look like you do the Bitcoin dance and put it around your house. These guys got you covered. We've been partnered with Decentral Tech for some time now, and they are growing like crazy, in no small part to you guys and your support of their business. So head over, patronize them. No promo code, no nothing. Tell them we sent you if you want. And, whatever your thing is when it comes to mining, when it comes to board repairs and all this stuff, they got you covered. Best in the business. And check them out if you haven't yet. Easy to get started, Len. I'm again, embarrassing myself here by having a miner running before a node. It is that easy to do.
Joey, there may be a point in time in the not too distant future that I may be setting up nodes for sale. It may happen. I'm going through the process to look at if this is possible, and if there's any interest, I could set up everything, and I'll do the IBD, I'll do the whole 9 yards, and it'll be ready for people just to plug and play. Maybe you could purchase one of those, Joey. I'll set one up for you.
Send one to me.
Take your Bitcoin.
Why don't you sponsor the show and then send me one for free?
That's a really good idea. I'll do a segment. I'll come on every so often to talk about it, if you'll so allow me to come on the show. And yeah,
I have to check with the other shareholders. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully they're in agreement. But yeah, Joey, your Christmas, aside from getting a lot of those pink stuff for the little one, how was your Christmas?
It was great. Pretty busy, but I think that's to be expected with a newborn. Everyone wants to come see the little one, and we let some people come by. Got to keep it, as tight as you can. She's still pretty young and vulnerable, so we enjoyed that. I have to say that in Bitcoin, I tweeted this yesterday. It's often easy to be blackpilled, and God knows we're guilty of that on this show sometimes, especially recently. But man, you gotta look around at Christmas time and New Year's, and be thankful for your friends, family, your health, your wellness. Even if you're not 100%, and God knows the older we get, the further we get from 100%. It's still a beautiful thing, man, to have all these great people around you, like-minded people. I even think about us doing the show. We have regular, when we started the show, we didn't have any regular listeners. Now we got tons of regular listeners, tons of sponsors who we become friends with. It's not just that they help us pay the bills and keep the lights on. We chat with those guys every day. Mark, the Bull guys, Decentral, you can't beat this. And
Boomer,
and Boomer and guys who've been affiliated with the show over the years. And it's incredible, man. The little community we've built here in the live chat on Twitter, in the Discord. It's, if you're not thankful for that, I don't know what you're thankful for. And so I'm thankful for all of you guys and girls, and it's just been such a pleasure. Another great year.
Jordan.
Jordan out there saying,
sorry,
hey, sorry, man. There's so many people. I wasn't gonna say any listeners. Okay. But
I had to mention this.
Len said Boomer did book us a lot of guests over the years. But yeah, it's interesting to see how this has grown. And it's a reminder that no matter how dark things seem, sometimes when you look outward, if you look to your small community and what you're building in your community, lots of positives, lots of white pills to be had, and another great year. And I'm looking forward to a big 25. Len, how about you?
Yeah.
What are you feeling like?
Whatever happens with respect to the price, I don't care, because I have zero impact on that aside from the massive buys I do on a daily basis. Other than that, let's just have fun, write it out. And yeah, my wife ended up getting me this book, and I look forward to reading it. The Book of Satoshi, for people listening. And man, oh man, I just look forward to diving into that. Thank you to my lovely wife for that. Did you talk Bitcoin this Christmas? Because I sure did.
Well, I mean, we can talk about this as a story if you want.
No, let's talk about it now.
Sure. Man, I mean, how many questions did you get over the break about Bitcoin?
More than anything, it's just pointing out, not that I'm right, not that, just that, look, things are changing. There's alternatives that are in front of us. And, even yesterday, I could go on to a little bit into a tangent here, because yesterday I helped out another dude get on to and set up his Sparrow for his cold card. There's lots of new Bitcoiners. There's lots of pre-coiners out there. And I don't know about you, but I have ample time for people like that, maybe to a fault. But I'll be happy to chat with those folks all day long. And the no coiners out there, the problem with them is you don't know they're no coiners until you chat with them. It's not like they have something slapped in their forehead and say, I have no fucking clue what's going on. You got to dive deep. And it's at that point, you've invested time and then you figure shit out. And then it's like, oh man, now it's like, oh.
Lost Len. Len just bought a new router.
Sorry, did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Where's that router?
Oh, no.
Get that router hooked up. You guys in the chat can tell me if it's me or Len. I think it's Len, but it's funny, like that, to Len's point here about like this discussion heading now in a different direction. And the direction is not, oh, this thing is a scam. The direction is more, have you thought about this other way it could fail, this other way it could fail, blah, blah, blah. It's frustrating, man, because people, especially in your personal life, my friends and family know that I'm a Bitcoiner, and my family's very supportive now. But my friends are still, I don't want to say haters. They're not, we're all sort of, we're a rising tide bunch, my really tight knit group of friends. But I will say that my friends on sort of the peripheral still don't really get the Bitcoin thing and still think there's a, outside chance that it goes to zero or whatever. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but it's just like over and over again, the same kind of lame FUD. Yeah. And I mean, from a perspective of someone who considers himself to be, informed, you might think about the person who comes to your Christmas dinner or your New Year's party and listens to All In, for example, right? They consider themselves to be this sort of business savvy. I got this entrepreneur podcast. I know about Chamath and Sachs and all this. And, he's going to come to your Christmas party and give you, quantum breaking the Bitcoin encryption algo. Like, that's not good FUD. And you got to kind of keep a straight face with that guy, even though he's not as well informed as he thinks. I think Bitcoiners are dealing with that more and more. I don't know how much we're dealing with it with grace. I'll say that. I know for me,
they have no clue, Joey. None of these guys have.
Yeah, I know they don't. But like, I still think it's like, hard. It's hard to like stay. Don't you think it's hard to like stay, sane is the wrong word, to stay diplomatic in those conversations?
No,
like, this is why I just don't care anymore.
I'm done. At this particular moment, Joey, I'm finished with that diplomatic shit. People, you give them information, right? Like, you give them enough information, and it's not like you're obtuse with what's going on around us. You could fucking just see the garbage that we're experiencing. Everybody's experiencing it. And what's the reason? Well, money's broken and blah, blah, blah. Like, and so what are the alternatives? Well, here's one that exists, and here's the fundamentals. And it's tiring to like do this over and over again, and it doesn't click. You're trying to give them what they need, and then they can't cross that gap. And it's too bad. And the reality is they're stuck in this mindset of this fiat environment, and there's going to be saved by fiat. Totally. And something is going to be there to propel them and push them on.
New policy, less like tax change,
whatever it is. And, and what will happen is eventually all their financial dreams, their hopes, their dreams, the plans for retirement, paying for kids, funding vacations and all that shit is going to die. It's going to have its last rites administered to them. And then what are you going to do? You have to then bury it. And
who's the Bitcoin priest, Len? Or we send Pastor Coin there to do the last rites or what?
Come there and I'll fucking tell. And when it's finally buried, I will piss on their financial ruins. And I'll say, I was fucking right. And I will spray paint a la NWO, Bitcoin fixes this.
Yeah.
On the tombstone. And you have every fucking opportunity to learn this, and you choose not to. Like it says over there, I have no more fucks left to give. I just don't. That's the sad thing is, I don't know who the hell's a no coiner and who's not. You got to talk to them. And then by the time you figure it out, it's too late. You invested time and you've gone through this. It's like, you're just a fucking idiot. And there's nothing to stop to protect you. Yeah. Have fun. Do what you got to do. Nobody's going to be there to protect you. It's up to you to fucking protect yourself. Yeah. How could you do it? There's a multitude of ways, but Bitcoin is one of them. And you're going to spend all this time after you work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And you're going to spend all this time afterwards to try to invest it, to protect your wealth. And Bitcoin is the most simplest thing. You don't have to study any fucking chart. You don't have to look at any company. Just fucking buy it, sit in and hold. That's it. Nothing you have to do. But people don't understand.
They don't get it. They don't want to. And I'll just make a comment on some of the things I see in the chat here because the chat's humming. I think it was P-Man, maybe? Yeah, P-Man, who said, I'll put it in the video here. Does anyone in here, as soon as it hits new all-time high, say, are you going to sell? I think I talked about this last week or the week before about how people who don't own Bitcoin still think of it as this thing that you sell back to the inferior currency, the inferior store of value. It's very bizarre, but it tells you that people just don't get it. And, you know, I do hear that every single time. I'm sure many of you guys do. And then Boomer, also, I felt some jealousy from family over Christmas. I've been telling them to study this since 20K, and now they're jealous that they didn't buy. I don't know. I don't know if I feel like my family's not jealous. My family's, you know, they're doing fine.
Supportive, I would imagine.
Yeah, and they're doing fine. Like they don't care if I make a little bit of money doing the Bitcoin dance. But the thing that I think is most frustrating is that the people I really like spent time with and on trying to get them to buy that didn't do it. I'm just like, I'm not beside myself, but I was for a long time. Like you guys, you don't get it. Like, and you know, sometimes I think, especially when it comes to like my brother or like my best friends, I think to myself, and I've been told this when I give people fitness advice, sometimes it's a bit abrasive, maybe, but I think it's like this idea that I have to change my approach to encourage people to adopt a certain way of thinking, I think is wrong. Like you can say to me that maybe if I was a little less abrasive or less doomer when talking to people about Bitcoin, they might embrace it more and I might get more friends adopting it. You could say the same thing about the way that I approach, you know, telling my family members and my friends that they should be trying to get to a 225-pound squat or whatever. And, you know, I've heard from more people than not, honestly, over the years, that I could change the way I talk about that kind of stuff and be more convincing through softening the message. And there's an Isaiah's Job angle here too that I won't touch, but you guys know that story already. And if you don't, you should. Isaiah's Job. And like the thing that I would say to people is, look, I wouldn't soften my approach if I was telling someone that they had to drink water to survive. And it's not because I think the approach is, you know, the most effective, but it's because I know I'm right. And I know the consequences of anything other than what I'm saying are significant. You either become overweight and diabetic and, you know, unattractive to the opposite sex, and you wind up with all these other problems. If you can't squat 2.25, you wind up wondering why you can't get off the hamster wheel, the fiat hamster wheel. If you don't own Bitcoin and you think to yourself like, yeah, I'll just vote harder the next time, and I'm sure that this other politician will bail me out or whatever. You know, or you get mad over the visas thing, or, you know, there's all sorts of things every day. There's a new thing to get mad about. And no one ever looks inward and says, man, maybe I should be reflecting on this other information I'm getting. And Bitcoin's much the same way. I just don't think that I should have to convince people anymore. And so I think that the have fun staying poor meme isn't necessarily like a mean thing. I think it just becomes an attitude for people that have been in Bitcoin a long time. And have fun staying poor is not laughing at people over Christmas turkey. It's just not caring if they don't get it. And you know, it's almost worse, you know, like, you know, at least laughing at people, you continue to engage with them, and it may not be pleasant for them, but it gives them another thing to think about. But as soon as you start talking about, you know, just ignoring them and letting them kind of wallow in the current state of affairs, it's sad, but, you know, there's a lot of fatties out there who refuse to go to the gym. There's a lot of many kinds of people out there who don't take care of themselves and don't do the right things, even though they know they should. One other thing I'll mention here, I'll pass back to you. I see people all the time talk about how they don't want to spend money on it because it could go to zero. And, you know, it's something that they view as volatile or speculative. And I just think all the time, like, you know, you're literally buying stuff every single day that's completely worthless, whether it's your Starbucks coffee for $7 or Monster Energy drinks at the gas station for $6, or another pair of shoes, or some designer brand, whatever. Like, you're not getting anything out of those things. And in time, those things by design go to zero. And by the way, that speed at which they decline to zero value is accelerating every day, again, by design, to push this, you know, consumption monster that drives GDP and other fake and unimportant data in the quest for continued, unabated, rudderless growth for the sake of growth. And people will say, well, I like those things. Well, it's like a little bit of a change for you to maybe like downsize your coffee to a small from a medium, put that other $2 every day in Bitcoin. It's a moderate to small change for you to, instead of order out Friday and Saturday, which I'm guilty doing. If my wife goes to the cottage or something with her girlfriends, like, I'm getting pizza 2 days in a row. There's no doubt about that.
Just get one large big ass pizza, and then you can eat it for 4 days in a row.
Fresh 2 days in a row. I don't fuck around with pizza. Yes, cigarettes I see in the chat too. Like, it's crazy. And literally anything you could do to just downsize a bit. Like, if you have one less dart a day, is that one, or to like 2 less darts a day? Is that a pack at the end of the month? Is that $30? Like, what's a pack of cigarettes? Is it $30? Is it $30 that you could put into Bitcoin? I don't know. And I think a lot of people now are starting to realize that the strategy they've been using, whether it's my savings account, whether it's hoping for my pension, whether it's, using the index, it's not.
A pack of 20 in Canada costs $14 Canadian.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Like, you might go through a pack a day if you're a heavy smoker.
But how many is 20 cigarettes? Is that like a big pack, a small pack?
I don't know. I've smoked, but I've never bought a pack of cigarettes. So I don't know. But, I'll just finish with saying, like, whatever you think you can't do in terms of putting a little bit of money into Bitcoin, you can. I guarantee you can. And whatever you think you can't learn when it comes to stuff about hard money or the difficulty adjustment, you can. I guarantee you can. And whatever you think you're missing out on and have no chance to get because you're in a difficult situation, thanks to the fiat hamster wheel, you can get out of it. I guarantee you can, if you just start thinking about this thing with a rational mind.
I can't wait for everything to play out. There's a destiny here. I think we all kind of agree where it's going to go. The timing, I think a lot of us are still trying to figure out when it's going to happen. But the end result, I don't think any of us are in dispute here. And once we get there, I think it's going to be party time for a lot of people. But a lot of other people that missed the boat and continually will miss the boat, they could just fuck right off.
Yeah, see, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it like that.
Because I can't take that fucking horse to the water.
Yeah.
Every time, and then they're thirsty and they choose not to drink. Eventually, that horse is just a dumb piece of shit and is totally regarded. And there's nothing you can do about that.
You can say retarded now. We're back. We're so back in 2024. You can say retarded now. Yeah, I've been saying it on the show for several weeks now. Yeah,
I know you have.
Yeah,
I know you have.
We're both we both got to get on board with that. The thing that I think drives me the most nuts is still, and it's becoming more and more rare, but the people who just think no matter how big it gets, it's a scam. No matter how much legitimacy it gains, it's a scam. No matter how many people in other countries are looking to this as a savings technology, it's a Ponzi. It's it's bound to flop. It's all these things. Rich Diaz and Keith Dicker and Soretsky there on the Looney Hour. Say what you want about those guys. I like all those guys. They've been on the show, and I plan on getting Rich and Keith back soon. Maybe Steve too, if we have like a real estate thing to discuss. But say what you want about those guys, but those guys now are being forced to discuss Bitcoin. They may not like it as much as we do, but the fact that two guys who make their living investing in traditional financial markets are forced to discuss the price of Bitcoin and the performance of Bitcoin, signpost. The fact that CNBC almost every day has to have a Bitcoin segment, signpost. The fact that the all-in guys, Jason specifically, who has no Bitcoin and lies about his positioning in almost everything, I think, except probably Uber, is forced to tell people that he thinks MSTR is a fraud and Tether is a fraud, as if he's, not, as if he, like, this guy's so stupid that he doesn't realize we talked about this like 3 years ago, especially the Tether stuff. It's a signpost. And every cycle, I think I said this on Ben's show one time on Why Are We Bullish? My reason for being bullish was that the quality of our enemies was increasing. Their stature, their profile, their net worth, their visibility, their influence, always increasing, right? It's no longer Roger Ver and Craig Wright. It's much bigger players now who are looking into this thing and trying to find holes and trying to do all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. It's a good sign. And it may seem difficult sometimes. And people in your life, like I said, when Len was away there, who view themselves as informed for listening to these other shows, they may come to you with stuff that they think is new. And, you may have to entertain it with a straight face, or don't do whatever you want. But I think it's rational to do it with people who you care about. It's going to be harder and harder to bring those people on board, because I think a lot of people are invested in some of these voices. One of the reasons I don't argue about politics with people in my life on the left more often than not. I know on the left.
We had a good out and out this past week in politics, and I wish I could bring up specifics regarding that. But holy fuck, there are some people that are just
there's no point, right? The thing about arguing,
there is a point.
Well, I disagree, because when you're arguing with people, then you're never actually arguing with them. You're arguing with the last person they saw on TV.
I don't care. And it's like, I'm not going to let them just run roundshot over me. I'm going to just draw a fucking line.
Don't let them run anything. Just
fight.
I just don't care. Like at some point, actually, Mark said this to me one time, that the best, it's not really applicable directly to this, but the sentiment is, the best revenge is living well. I don't necessarily care about people who think Bitcoin's a scam and a fraud. Like, my living situation compared to yours should tell you a story. I don't care if people say that lifting weights is not important and it's vain to try and do all these things. My athletic performance, tells a different story compared to yours. You can't get out of bed and I'm, already on the bike or under the bar by 7 a.m. This is like, at some point, it's no longer worth the time, because my time has become valuable. And, like I mentioned earlier, the approach is no longer one that I think needs to be softened so you can convince people. It's binary now. You either get it or you don't. But
you take the high road. Good for you, Joey.
Yeah, it's not. I don't view it as the high road.
Fucking loser out there, just fucking fighting everybody that stands in front of my way.
I don't view it as the high road, though. I don't view it as the high road. Then I view it as like that's sort of the most derogatory thing you can do to somebody, is just like, walk by them the same way you see an ant on the sidewalk toiling away on a blade of grass. I don't think of the ant. It doesn't bother me. The ant is living a different life than me. It's got a different set of, important tasks in its own mind. It doesn't get it. Right. And so there's no point in engaging with the ant.
Has a lot of the same rights that you do, and goes out there and says stuff in the forums that potentially could get picked up. And so you have to slay these stupid ideas.
Who are you talking
about? Before they proliferate any further.
Who are you talking about? Why are you so passionate about this?
I'm just saying, if somebody's stupid, somebody's stupid. Period. That's it. And then they have to be told they're stupid, shown, and over time, we will be proven to be correct. And I love it.
Yeah, I think so.
That's it. Let's move on, Joey, because we have lots to talk about, because there's so much. Like, let's talk about this MSTR thing, which I find I don't totally understand it. I'll be honest, but I'm sitting on the sidelines watching this thing play out. It's a fiat game within a fiat world by a fiat company, and right now it's a vote that's being proposed to shareholders of MSTR. So I assume if you are an MSTR shareholder, you're going to be subjected to submitting a vote on this. But keep in mind that Michael Saylor holds a great deal of the voting shares out there. So he will steer this ship whichever way he wants. They're voting on with respect to increasing the number of shares for both Class A and preferred stock.
Not increasing the number, increasing the maximum number. They're not doing it now, but they can.
But the potential
down the road,
the potential of doing it, and the reason for that would for raising capital to buy some more Bitcoin. Right now, there's around 330 million shares of Class A and around 5 million of the preferred stock, and they want to increase this to 10.33 billion for the first one. That's around a 30x increase. And 1 billion for the second one, which is around a 20x increase. This is in addition to the plans that they have. Well, it's actually more than 20x, but either way, it's in addition to the plans they have right now. 21 billion is being raised in two separate streams, total of $42 billion. They bought more Bitcoin today from one of that $42 billion that they're raising. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but the end result is they may want to exercise options to start raising tons of capital to buy a lot of Bitcoin. They want to buy, I don't know what the supply is in terms of percentage. They're sitting right now at like over 2% of everything that's going to be mined, period.
Yeah.
And could that be 10% when they're done, all said and done this? I don't know. But certainly you can't look at this and say, this is nothing. This is a news that shouldn't be talked about. This is very interesting. Anybody could buy Bitcoin. And I don't care if MicroStrategy buys all the Bitcoin. This is a free market. And if they want to raise capital to buy it, all the more power to them. And if they don't, again, all the more power to them. But that's less corn for you and I. And it's certainly going to make it more scarce for you and I. What are they going to do with it? I don't think they're going to dump it. I think they're probably going to borrow against it moving forward. They see the value of Bitcoin moving forward. I think this is a very interesting play. How it's going to play out, I don't fucking know. And to be honest, I don't really fucking care. I have no skin in the game. I don't have any say in this. I'm not going to vote on it because I don't have any shares in MicroStrategy. Joey, you must have some opinion on this because you're a MicroStrategy shareholder, and I think you seem to like the story from what I gather.
Yeah, I peeled off a huge chunk of my MSTR at like 396, which I feel pretty good about. Not bragging. That's not the top. But let's talk about this. Mark actually had a good tweet about this. So I'll just pull from his Twitter account here. One of the reasons they might be doing this, and again, Boomer's noting here that it's just a formality. I think that's also the case, as I mentioned earlier. It's increasing the max number of shares. And right now, if they were to do a stock split, they'd have a hard time under the current bylaws, as Mark points out. The maximum shares authorized right now are 330 million. There are 210 million shares outstanding now. So, if he wants that equity and the shareholders want the equity, then the at-the-money offerings, I should say, the equity offerings, then he needs more shares to be able to do it. And if he wants to do a split down the road, like the 10-1 he just did last year, I think, or earlier this year, God, time is flying. Then he needs to have those shares available. He has to be able to do it. Other thing I'll just note for people who are like getting their panties in a bunch here. Do you know how many shares outstanding, Microsoft has?
Don't even have a clue.
Yeah, it's 7 billion. Okay. So quite a bit.
All right.
Then you can go to Google, 12.29 billion shares of that. Then you can go to Meta. Meta's got, let me just pull it up here. Meta has 2.5 billion. And then NVIDIA, darling of the market now, 24.49 billion shares outstanding.
What's the market cap of each one of those compared to?
They're high, but I knew you were going to say that. As the FUDding rules start to come into play in Q1, the market cap of MSTR is going to rise significantly too, by magnitudes of tens of billions of dollars, if not more. I can't remember exactly what it is. It might be in the hundreds of billions.
Market cap now, roughly?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure.
100 billion? Is it more than that? I mean,
let's check. I'll pull it up quick. MSTR market cap is 75 billion. So these guys probably
to get to 1 trillion mark, they have to 14x their market cap. To be on par with the other companies you mentioned, and when Microsoft is 2 or 3 trillion, so multiply that by. So like, there's a huge difference between the two of them. Granted, they have a lot of shares outstanding.
There's not but I would suggest to people that there is actually not that big a difference in market cap if the Bitcoin price continues to rise, because it'll be accounted for differently starting in Q1. And so if he's got 500 billion or 400 billion or whatever he's got, in the next 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, is his market cap going to grow faster than Microsoft's is? It's probably a safe bet. And so maybe he's getting ahead of it a little bit and saying, look, I think this is going to happen. I think I'm going to want these shares available for splits, for equity offerings, whatever. And I think the more people are going to look at that stock soon, because it'll start to show up in screeners as the market cap rises with the FUDding rules change. I'm okay with this. I don't really think it's something for the short term. Honestly, I think it's something for the long term. And I don't really think that, this idea that he's going to lose his voting share. He technically already has less than 50%. I just don't like, this is a one-way street now with MSTR. It's Bitcoin and that's it. And so people who are buying the stock want that. They're going to vote for it. Their board is going to stay with this strategy. And the market, who has driven the price, up to, I think, close to 500 at the top, likes the strategy too. The question is, can he keep the premium? I don't know. That's a different story entirely. But for now, I mean, let's rip it. let's see what happens.
And may I suggest the alternative, which is simply don't play these games. Simply buy Bitcoin, store it, and whatever happens in the market happens in the market. If capital is lost, capital is locked, capital is whatever. It happens for the people that have their capital in there. You have the opportunity to lock away your capital in a way that you can control it. I think that, running like using your own node, for instance, to broadcast your transactions and to verify that you have your Bitcoin, that far exceeds rolling the dice and playing with MSTR. That's just my humble opinion. But if people want to try to play the game, all the more power to them. Hopefully it works out for you. But if it don't, again, just like I said at the beginning, I'll be happy to pass by your financial grave and piss all over that as well and say, I was fucking right yet again.
Yeah. What do we got next?
Well, we hear about this story all the fucking time, is that somebody posted on the Bitcoin subreddit that he was using his ledger to deal with his Bitcoin. Yeah. And he accumulated about 1.5 Bitcoin in total, which is a decent amount, right? It's a potentially life-changing amount of wealth that the way Bitcoin's going, right? And it so happened he was trying to move 1.15 worth of his Bitcoin out of his wallet. And, well, he wasn't so lucky because it was sent somewhere else, it looks like. He reported this to the FBI because he was somehow hacked through this whole process. And it's not a ledger issue, and it wasn't normally the ledger, I could piss on them all day long, but not today. I'm not going to. The problem was it's the way he stored his keys. And, well, he exposed them online.
Yep.
He used his phone manager.
Unbelievable. Just so as a way easy to not do. I cannot. How does this keep happening?
And it's for somebody to accumulate over 1 Bitcoin and to have that one point of failure in your phone, which I would say is probably less secure than a laptop or a desktop. And don't even think that those are very secure. This guy was rolling the dice every day of his life while he had those keys available online. Yep. Not only that, I would suggest for people out there, well, number one, don't use Ledger. Use something like a cold card. That's my opinion. But number two, those keys that you have generated, and hopefully you generated them offline, you generated it in a way that was never exposed to the internet. I would suggest make sure you do that in a room that has no cameras. Make sure there's no computers there. There's no phone there. Take away every opportunity that wealth could be taken away from you. And if you do that, there's no way, with barring a $5 wrench attack or $7.50 nowadays because of inflation, that's it. But then maybe you go time lock your Bitcoin and do a whole bunch of other things. What I'm trying to get at is don't expose your keys online. You're a dumbass if you are. And this guy is a dumbass for doing this. Everybody should learn from people's mistakes, more so for other people's costly mistake. This guy lost what, 115,000, 110,000 USD? Crazy. Like that. That could be worth way more in the future. And he lost it all. You know what? I could say this. He probably will never be able to recoup that amount of Bitcoin, which is too bad.
Yeah, it does suck, man. Like, explain to me again how people are still doing this. I think there was also a bit of the story. He was dealing with some other offshoots, right? He was dealing with NFTs maybe and some other stuff, if I remember correctly.
Well, if you have a ledger, most likely you can do
tons of stuff on a ledger now, right? Ledger Live or whatever on your phone, I'm pretty sure has like integrations with damn near every hackable surface in the crypto native realm, right? Like it's got everything from MetaMask to ETH swaps to DeFi to whatever, right? You know, it's all the stuff Jim Bianco talks about every day. Whatever.
Yeah, Ledger Live is
pushing
is a problem.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah, like, you can hook up your Sparrow to Ledger.
Yeah, you could put. Yeah, you're like that's. I still think if you have a first generation Ledger and you took care of your keys, you're fine. But the question these other ones that have like the fucking like the what was that service Recover or whatever where like they take your keys and you can like be subpoenaed for your key stuff like that.
So with the Ledger, even the early ones, how does it connect? How does the information get transacted to you, like your Sparrow, for instance? How do you digitally sign a
good question.
transaction?
Yeah, good question.
I can tell you how it's done. It's connected.
Yeah,
You have a wire that's connected from your ledger
oh
device
yeah, sure.
to your computer.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I will go to say that it is not secure in every respect. You can't upgrade a firmware without that wire being connected. You can't do any like something like a cold card.
I think you're right about that. I think what I'm
Yeah.
suggesting is more like your keys. If you have an old ledger, I said this at the time too when we talked about like this like recover story. I still think you don't have to freak out if you have an old ledger and have protected your keys properly. You didn't put them online. You didn't take a picture of them, like all the stuff that you know you're not supposed to do. As long as you're not dabbling with that device, like you said, connecting it to a computer and doing all the stuff you know you shouldn't be doing, or like using Ledger Live on your phone with it, you know, at some point you should sweep those keys to a new wallet. But like you can do more than, it seems to me like all these stories, like people are doing less than the bare minimum with this stuff, right? Like they're doing like all you have to do is write down the keys in the paper. I'm pretty sure, does Ledger give you a piece of paper? It does. Yeah, it definitely does. You write down the keys on your paper or stamp them or whatever, and then forget about it. Like you should never pull those keys out. You definitely never have to put them into a computer. You definitely never have to put them into a phone. If you want to sign a transaction that desperately, you could plug the thing into your computer, probably without being connected to the internet. I don't know exactly.
No, you have to. It has to be broadcasted, and that's what I'm trying to get at.
Signing is not the same as broadcasting. Signing is different than signing is not the same as broadcasting, right?
Correct, but it's not.
So you can sign and then broadcast later without the device being connected to the internet.
It will have to eventually. It will have to be connected. There's going to be a physical connection to something. And that's
just turn your Wi-Fi off or whatever. Like there's ways to do it that are safer than what this guy did. You know, I get what you're saying. Like you are like up here. You're like a 10 out of 10 max
and
security.
And the people
all
I
the time,
teach
right?
to,
the
people I teach, even yesterday, everybody learns how to do an air gap. The process is not rocket science. It's you do it this way. The device is never connected, never interacting with a computer that is connected. That's it, period. And somebody's asking, do we trust air gap closed source software like iCoin hardware wallet? I never heard of iCoin.
I think Greenlove was doing an ad read for that on Twitter one time where his eyes kept on going to the script instead of looking at the camera.
I can't comment on that. I like open source. Cold Card isn't open source. It is source verifiable.
Yeah.
But at least you could verify the source code. That's a huge thing. It's Bitcoin only, positive. You could look at the source code, positive. It's air gap, positive. There's a lot of positives. And there's other ones that are positive as well. I'm not just going to say Cold Card is the only one out there. You do your own research. There could be tons out there, but it's the one that I use and the one that I recommend because I use it and I use that to secure my coin.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about this one, or?
Yeah, I just want to point out, I agree with Darren Honeyset in the chat saying Bitcoin ledger security issues are from opt-in features knowingly or unknowingly with other apps. I totally agree with that. You cannot, like if you have a ledger and you are dead set on using it, you absolutely must not download integrations, web integrations, Ledger Live, and you absolutely must not. That is rule number one. Rule number one is actually get off the ledger if you can. Rule number 1A is if you're going to use it, you must not interact with these other ecosystems with your Bitcoin wallet. You just should never do that. The stakes are so high. These stories have been going on. We've been doing this show for what, 3 years, 4 years now? We have a story like this almost every week, every 2 weeks. The stakes were high when this first started happening 2 or 3 years ago. People were getting nicked trying to play around with Ethereum related stuff and DeFi stuff on their ledger because of opt-ins and MetaMask hacks and whatnot. That was when the price was 10,000. Now it's 100,000. So do you think that the likelihood of these, hacks increasing is significant? Yeah, of course. The honeypot is bigger. Just don't I would just stay away from all that stuff, man. And we preach this all the time, even though Len and I might not see exactly eye to eye on what the sort of like the best security profile is for the average Bitcoin user. We sure as shit agree that if you use anything besides Bitcoin, you are asking for trouble, whether it's because the network has issues, whether it's because there's insiders rugging, whether it's because it's a scam token, or whether it's because you're going to download something in your browser so that you can display your NFT on a necklace or something, and you're going to lose $100,000 in the process. It's just so dangerous. You never see stories about Bitcoin getting taken from people who manage their keys properly. That's the end of the story. You just don't hear it. There is no stories like that. So like that is just, it's painful to me. This is still going on. And like you mentioned, like for a guy to have accumulated that much, he's probably been around, you know, like he's not new. He just a moment of weakness or what?
He was lazy. That was really it. If he's relying on his password manager on his phone, that's just sheer laziness. Anyways, let's move to a scary story, Joy, because there's one that could potentially be coming to an exchange near you. MiCA rules came into effect in Europe today, December 30th, 2024. Kraken is adhering to these rules, and they are asking for wallet verification to take place. And it started today, December 30th, 2024. Mm-hmm. And so it's for folks in the EU only, and they say this step is required for what they described as the EU broader regulation of crypto assets. And any move that involves moving €1,000 in value or more, then you have to, or if you're using a new wallet address, then you'll be prompted to verify the wallet ownership. So anytime you move something to a new wallet or anything in excess of €1,000, you have to verify the wallet ownership. So essentially, you're tying that to you because you are claiming it's yours. You're not going to.
We do that here. We do that here too. Yeah.
Well, for over 1,000.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm about to pay out for the CBP Fantasy League tonight or tomorrow, whenever I get around to it.
This is news to me. You have to indulge me in this because
ShakePay, which I used for the Fantasy League. I always use ShakePay for the Fantasy League, not because they're better than Bull, but because they absorb the fees for small sends. So if I want to send $100 to the third place guy, I don't wind up paying $8 in fees, right? During a high time frame period or high fee period. So I buy it there and then send it out.
Bull batches it, by the way, and they can still send 100.
You can't send 100. You have to buy 200 minimum. Yeah. So I'm not doing that. But the point is that when I send out Bitcoin, they want to know where it came from. Len, we just did a transaction, you and I told you to use that wallet for the receipt. And when I received the Bitcoin, the first thing the app asks you is, where did this come from?
That's incredible. And the funny thing is, I've yet to encounter this here.
Yeah.
So make that for what it's worth. Once this is verified in EU for Kraken, you're able to use the same wallet address over and over again without doing the verification.
Isn't that convenient?
Second time. But remember, Bitcoin gives you the option, and it's highly recommended too, use a new address for receiving.
Totally.
Don't use the same address over and over again because that's obviously a no-no. But
tell people why. Tell people why. Because I think people view this as like a sort of niche privacy thing, but it's actually a public key disclosure thing.
I don't want to give up any information that ties multiple transactions to the same address, especially later on when you start spending it from it. It doesn't. It's not Ethereum, where Ethereum they're going to run out of addresses. Bitcoin gives you the opportunity to generate new addresses and almost infinite amount. There's obviously a limit to this, but either way, like this stuff, I guess it has reached the shores of North America. I didn't realize that it was here in Canada. That it was required.
And by the way,
that's €1,000 CAD.
€1,000. Yeah, it's way lower.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. So that's like 250 CAD. Sorry, €250. I don't know what the value is, but
600 probably 700.
Wow, I did not know that.
Super low, right? Like I just think about the Fantasy League tonight or tomorrow when I send out the money. I will tell you how it goes. Funny story, actually not funny story. Talking about key management, I was obviously busy over the last few months with my newborn, and I reset an old CBP laptop that I gave to my brother. And on the laptop, I had the lazily stored Sparrow generated keys to the fantasy football wallet and lost them. So I got to pay out the fantasy football winnings from my own sats. Fucking brutal. I know.
So there's
I
no
know.
way to recover that information.
I don't know. I could like look maybe and see if I put it somewhere else, but I honestly doubt it. I just think I'm gonna eat it. I don't have time.
I have
Unless
breaking news.
If you see an expense on the show account for marketing and it's about $700, you'll know what happened.
So breaking news: there is a gentleman based out of the Dundas area lost around $1,000 or whatever of Bitcoin. Didn't secure his keys properly.
I actually also didn't receive payment from all the players either. And I'm gonna call out Brandon Green Candle owes me 50,000 sats for his entry fee for sure, and one other person does too. I don't know who. But next year, I am either not going to do the league at all, or I'm going to find another way to do the entries because no one's fucking paying, and I don't want to keep giving away money. So
to participate, you have to pay to play.
Yeah,
and by a certain date, if you don't pay, you're not going to be part of it.
That's it. That's what I have to do. I have to I think next year I'll just post the address to like a small group of people who've been playing. You know, a couple of guys have been in the league both years. And I'll just say, look, if you want to play, send a transaction. Tell me what transaction is yours, and I'll give you the password to the league. But until then, you don't get in. You don't get in.
USDT was delisted in Europe. I have nothing to say about that. I'm going to leave it at that unless you want to.
Doesn't matter.
I don't
yeah.
care. Exactly.
Don't care. Yeah, don't care. Yeah.
Perfect. So we have 3 different ETF news stories that came out. Yeah. This is going to be interesting for those fiat loving investors out there. Strive Asset Management. Sorry. This is a company that was co-founded by Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, they submitted a proposal for something called the Bitcoin Bond ETF. And this ETF is going to prioritize Bitcoin bonds, securities like swaps, options, derivatives, and they'll be connected to organizations that are heavily invested into Bitcoin. So companies like MSTR, Riot, FUDding, Mara, Semler Scientific, those are the ones that are going to be targeted for this. And so they're going to be all captured within this one ETF. More options for people that want to play and roll the dice. So let's see if this gets approved. Probably will be.
One thing I want to mention, Boomer actually brought it up, the USDT thing. That I don't know if you have it in the story. Or in another
I have
story.
nothing to say. Is I have.
They gave Rumble a ton of money.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
They gave Rumble the largest investment they've ever made outside of Bitcoin and treasuries.
And Rumble's now investing in Bitcoin too.
Yeah, they're doing so. Is that related to them being delisted in Europe? I don't know. We'll wait and see on that. But I wanted to mention that, Boomer. Thank you for the reminder. In terms of the ETFs, yeah, I don't really care about this. I'd rather just buy the underlying stock. Also, this is to me anyway, in a little bit in the same vein as the miners, AI, Bitcoin. You know, where's your beta? Where's your risk investment 3-man weave there? If I was going to buy this ETF, why would I not just buy MSTR instead? There's no reason.
Yeah.
And
if you're going to buy MSTR, why not buy Bitcoin instead?
This is so you just wind up going down the same path, right? Like, so what are you doing?
Again, it's not for me. There are people that listen in and they like this kind of shit, and then all the more power to them. If they want to buy in, there's another option for them to get something.
Yeah, lots of choices.
Bitwise, they filed something called the Standard Corporations ETF, and this is going to be targeting companies out there that hold 1,000+ Bitcoin in your treasury. And so there's a few different criteria aside from simply owning 1,000 Bitcoin. The firms will need to have a market cap of $100 million and a minimum average daily liquidity of at least 1 million and a public free float of under 10%. And there you go. So I think the CBP is going to be excluded because our market cap is not going to be $100 million USD by the time this gets released. Hopefully we could pump it up to get there. But either way, Bitwise Fund, they're going to be assigning weight on the holdings based on the market value versus how much Bitcoin it owns. Like, for example, Tesla, they're like a $1.4 trillion market cap company.
Yeah.
They would be weighed less because they only have $83 million of Bitcoin compared to, say, MicroStrategy that has 404, like many billions, right? So they're going to look at how much Bitcoin you have versus the market cap, and that's going to help decide how much it is you're going to invest in the ETF. And the maximum cap, it's going to be weighted at 25%.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's going to be more options for fiat loving investors.
1,000 Bitcoin is $92 million US right now. So
yeah, we have that in the CBP. That's easy.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, every company at 100K, every single company who has 1,000 Bitcoin qualifies by market cap once the new accounting rules come into play.
Okay.
So, I think that there's, like, you know, again, like, I still don't really understand why buy this ETF instead of
investors want options, and these companies that are offering these things, they want to make one thing: profit. They want to provide as many different options available to their customers, and so they can reap the rewards of not only capturing the customer and keeping them within the house, but also the management fees that go along with it.
Yeah, of course.
So it makes sense to have as many different offerings as possible to appease their customers or entice new customers to come in.
Totally.
ProShares is another one that wants to get in on this action, and they filed for ETFs that track the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and gold price in Bitcoin.
Terms.
Yeah. So these ETFs, they're going to use Bitcoin futures to achieve Bitcoin denominated returns rather than directly investing in Bitcoin. And it's interesting to see how it's going to be done. So again, they're not going to be directly investing in Bitcoin. They're going to be using futures to achieve it. So Bitcoin denominated returns, is this a new way of looking at things? I don't know.
New for TradFi maybe, but not new for Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
And
there's just more options out there.
We are eating up TradFi at a speed that I didn't think we would, honestly. I think, again, like, MSTR investing aside, they're going to set a bar when the new accounting rules come into play on what the expected real value of a treasury is. Then you have these other ETFs now measuring in Bitcoin terms. And, how about got to be a bit of a kick in the pants for the gold people to have gold in there just as a tracking mechanism in Bitcoin terms. Like, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow,
They have one thing they could hang their hat on for at least a little while is the market cap,
I guess, but it's not like it's
getting that's getting eroded.
It's going to run out. It's only a matter of time. And the thing that gold bugs don't realize is that at Bitcoin at 200K, 300K, like, you're talking about gold at max 3,000. And then at like 500 and 600K, I think you're talking about gold at 2,000 and 1,500. Like, I think you're talking about gold going back down, losing the monetary weight.
You're going to have exactly that. A lot of the capital that's parked in gold is going to shift towards Bitcoin.
Totally.
And it won't be just a slow, like, it will just be like quick, because then you're going to have a lot of it moving over, and it's going to draw a lot of sell pressure for gold, a lot of buy pressure for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
I think that's true. I think that's exactly right. Excuse me. I think that's exactly right.
Saying that there's a rumor that GameStop might be buying.
Yeah, GameStop. Yeah, we heard that years ago too. I don't buy it. And even if they,
that's picking up steam. I don't care if they do.
Yeah,
but
that's actually bad. I view that as bad for Bitcoin. If GameStop does that, I hate the GameStop thing. It's just
who cares? Anybody could buy it, and anybody doesn't have to buy it. It's beautiful. And if you buy it, all the more power to you. And you can do whatever you want with it. You can hold it. You can sell it.
You can play with it. Play with your Bitcoin.
You can. I don't know how, but yeah, you sure can. Joey, that's it for the Bitcoin stuff. Let's move on to the rest of the news. We're an hour in.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go to the retard hour. Okay. So if you're on audio, see you tomorrow. If you're on video, hang in. We got lots more to go. Take care of yourselves until then. And Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025.
And don't be a cock.